My name is Isabella Martinez, and I'm 34 years old from Barcelona, Spain. 6 months ago, I was just another busy marketing executive, juggling deadlines, client meetings, and the endless pursuit of success. I had a beautiful apartment overlooking the Mediterranean, a loving husband named Carlos, and 2 precious children, Sophia, 8, and Miguel, 6. From the outside, my life looked perfect. But inside, I was drowning in spiritual emptiness. I grew up Catholic, like most Spanish families, but somewhere along the way, faith became routine. Sunday Mass was more about tradition than transformation. I prayed occasionally, usually when I needed something, a promotion, health for my family, or guidance during difficult times, but deep down, I questioned everything. Was God really listening? Did Jesus actually care about my daily struggles? Was there even life after death? These doubts haunted me, especially during those quiet moments before sleep when the noise of the world finally stopped. I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering if this was all there was. Work, pay bills, raise children, grow old, and die. The thought terrified me, but I pushed it away, burying myself deeper into work and responsibilities. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt this spiritual emptiness despite having everything the world says should make you happy? What questions about faith keep you awake at night? On March 15th, 2024, everything changed in a split second. I was driving home from a particularly stressful client presentation, my mind racing with deadlines and tomorrow's meetings. The rain was coming down hard, making the Barcelona streets slippery and dangerous. I remember thinking about Sophia's school play that evening and how I'd probably miss it again because of work. As I approached the intersection near our neighborhood, I saw the traffic light turn yellow. I should have stopped, but I was running late, tired, and frustrated with myself for prioritizing work over family once again. I pressed the accelerator, trying to make it through before the light turned red. That's when I saw the truck. Time seemed to slow down as the massive delivery truck ran the red light from my left side. I could see the driver's panicked face as he tried to brake, but it was too late. The impact hit my driver's side door with such tremendous force that my car spun 3 times before crashing into a lamppost. The pain was indescribable, like every cell in my body was being torn apart simultaneously. I could taste blood, smell gasoline, and hear the horrifying sound of twisted metal settling. My vision began to blur as I felt something warm running down my face. I tried to call out for help, but no sound came from my throat. Have you ever experienced a moment when you realized how fragile life really is? Share your story in the comments below. Then came the strangest sensation, a pulling feeling, as if something was drawing me upward. The physical pain suddenly stopped, replaced by the most incredible lightness I'd ever experienced. I looked down and saw my body trapped in the mangled car, blood covering my face and chest. Paramedics were already working frantically, but I felt completely detached from the scene below. I was floating about 20 feet above my car, watching everything unfold like a movie. I could see Carlos arriving at the accident scene, his face filled with terror as he recognized our family car. I wanted to reach out to him, to tell him I was okay, but I couldn't move toward him. Instead, I felt myself being drawn upward, away from the chaos and pain of the physical world. The sensation of rising continued, and suddenly I was surrounded by the most beautiful, warm light I'd ever experienced. It wasn't harsh like sunlight or artificial like electric bulbs. It was alive, pulsing with love and peace that penetrated every part of my being. In that light, I felt completely safe, completely loved, and completely understood. What do you think happens to our consciousness when we die? Do you believe we continue to exist beyond our physical bodies? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As I moved through this light, I began to see a figure approaching me. At first, it was just a silhouette, but as he came closer, I knew without any doubt who it was. Jesus Christ was walking toward me, and his presence was unlike anything I could have imagined from my childhood Sunday school lessons or cathedral paintings. He wasn't wearing the traditional white robes I'd seen in artwork. Instead, he appeared in simple, earth-colored clothing that seemed to shimmer with that same living light. His face was kind, but serious, with eyes that held both infinite compassion and profound wisdom. When he looked at me, I felt like he could see every thought I'd ever had, every mistake I'd made, every moment of doubt and fear, and yet, I felt no judgment, only pure love. "Isabella," he said, and his voice resonated through my entire being. It wasn't just heard, it was felt in every fiber of my existence. "Do not be afraid. You are safe here with me." I wanted to fall to my knees, but in this spiritual realm, such physical gestures seemed unnecessary. Instead, I felt overwhelming gratitude and awe that brought tears to my eyes. Though I'm not sure if spirits can truly cry, Lord, I whispered, I've had so many doubts about you, about faith, about everything. I've been so lost. He smiled with such warmth that it melted away years of guilt and confusion. My child, your doubts were part of your journey to this moment. I have brought you here for a very specific purpose. What I am about to show you and tell you, you must remember and share with the world. The time is shorter than most people realize. Do you believe God can use our doubts and struggles as part of His greater plan? How has your faith journey been shaped by difficult questions? Share below. Jesus gestured, and suddenly we were in a different space. It felt like standing on a mountaintop overlooking the entire earth, but we could see beyond the physical realm into the spiritual dimensions that influence our world. What I saw both amazed and terrified me. Isabella, my people have many misconceptions about my return, Jesus began, his voice carrying a note of urgency I hadn't heard before. They expect trumpets and clouds, dramatic signs that cannot be missed. But my return will not be as the world expects. As he spoke, I began to see visions, not like watching a movie, but experiencing them as if I were living through multiple timelines simultaneously. I saw the earth in the near future, but it looked different. The spiritual atmosphere was heavy, oppressive, filled with a darkness that went far beyond physical shadow. My return is not a single moment, he continued, but a process that has already begun. I am returning first in the hearts and spirits of my true followers, those who have prepared themselves through genuine relationship with me, not mere religious practice. Many who call themselves Christians will not recognize this spiritual awakening because they have been focused on external signs rather than internal transformation. I watched as people around the world began to experience supernatural encounters, dreams, visions, and spiritual gifts. But religious institutions largely dismissed these experiences as emotionalism or even deception. Meanwhile, those who were truly walking in relationship with Christ were being equipped with extraordinary spiritual power and insight. The physical manifestation of my return will come, Jesus explained, but not until my spiritual army has been fully awakened and deployed. The darkness must first be confronted by those who carry my light within them. Are you experiencing unusual spiritual encounters, dreams, or a deeper hunger for God lately? Many people are reporting increased spiritual activity. Share your experiences in the comments. Then the vision shifted, and I saw what Jesus meant by the darkness that is coming. It wasn't just metaphorical. I witnessed a literal spiritual darkness descending upon the earth like a thick fog. This darkness carried with it fear, confusion, despair, and deception on a scale I'd never imagined possible. Isabella, watch carefully, Jesus said, his voice filled with both sorrow and determination. What you are about to see is already beginning to manifest in your world. I saw cities where people walked around as if in a daze, their eyes empty and lifeless. Technology that was meant to connect people had become a tool of isolation and control. Information was so distorted and manipulated that truth became impossible to discern. Families were turning against each other, nations were collapsing from within, and a spirit of madness was spreading like a contagion. But the worst part wasn't the external chaos. It was the spiritual darkness that was blinding people to hope, love, and truth. I watched as millions of people, including many who considered themselves believers, made choices based on fear rather than faith, choosing security over righteousness, comfort over courage. This darkness, Jesus explained, will separate those who truly know me from those who only know about me. It will reveal the heart condition of every person on earth. Many who have sat in churches for decades will fall away because their foundation was built on tradition and emotion rather than genuine relationship with me. I saw churches splitting apart, not over theology, but over whether to stand for truth or compromise with the prevailing culture. I witnessed pastors and spiritual leaders making decisions based on political expediency rather than biblical principles. It was heartbreaking to see how many would choose their reputation and security over their calling. Are you seeing signs of this spiritual darkness in your community, your church, or even your own family? What choices are you making when faced with pressure to compromise your values? Share your thoughts below. But Lord, I asked, who will survive this darkness? How can people prepare? Jesus turned to face me directly, and his expression became intensely serious. Listen carefully, Isabella, because this message must reach as many people as possible before it's too late. He showed me two groups of people during this time of darkness. The first group was larger, consisting of people from all walks of life, all religions, and all backgrounds. Despite their different circumstances, they shared common characteristics that made them vulnerable to the coming deception and despair. Those who will not survive the darkness, Jesus said, are not necessarily the ones the religious world would expect. They include many who sit in church pews every Sunday, but have never truly surrendered their lives to me. They know my words, but have not allowed my spirit to transform their hearts. When the darkness comes, their faith will crumble because it was built on sand. I watched as people who had appeared spiritually strong began to make compromises that led them further and further from truth. They started by adjusting small beliefs to fit societal pressure, then gradually abandoned core principles to maintain their comfort and status. They will not survive because they love their lives more than they love me, Jesus continued. They will choose temporary safety over eternal significance. They will believe lies because the truth requires them to change, and they are unwilling to pay that price. But I also saw another group, smaller, but burning with an inner light that the darkness couldn't extinguish. These people came from every nation, every age group, every social class. What united them wasn't their denomination or their knowledge of Scripture, but their genuine, intimate relationship with Christ. Those who will survive and thrive in the darkness, Jesus explained, are those who have learned to hear my voice clearly and obey it quickly. They have been tested in smaller trials and have chosen faithfulness over comfort. They understand that following me might cost them everything the world values, and they have already made that choice. I watched as these people displayed supernatural courage, wisdom, and power. They provided light in places of despair, hope in situations of fear, and truth in environments of deception. They didn't just survive the darkness, they pushed it back wherever they went. Which group do you honestly see yourself in right now? What areas of your life might need to be surrendered to truly follow Christ regardless of the cost? Be honest in the comments. Your eternity may depend on it. Isabella, Jesus said, placing his hand on my shoulder, and I felt power flow through me like electricity. You must understand something crucial. The preparation for what's coming cannot happen overnight. Those who wait until they see the darkness approaching will be too late. The time for preparation is now, while there is still light. He showed me specific things that people needed to do immediately. First, they must move from knowing about me to actually knowing me. This requires time spent in my presence, not just reading about me or listening to sermons. They must learn to recognize my voice and distinguish it from the voice of the enemy, their own thoughts, and the opinions of others. I saw people spending hours in prayer and meditation, not as religious duty, but as desperate pursuit of intimacy with God. They were discovering that Jesus wasn't just a historical figure or theological concept, but a living person who wanted to guide them through every decision and circumstance. Second, they must be willing to obey me even when it doesn't make sense to their natural mind or when it costs them something valuable. Partial obedience is disobedience, and in the coming darkness, hesitation will be deadly. I witnessed scenarios where people had to choose between their careers and their convictions, between family approval and God's calling, between financial security and spiritual integrity. Those who chose God consistently were building the strength they would need for the greater tests ahead. Third, they must be filled with my spirit and learn to operate in supernatural power. The challenges of the last days cannot be overcome by human wisdom or strength alone. My people must walk in the same power that raised me from the dead. I saw believers healing the sick, prophesying accurately, experiencing miraculous provision, and displaying supernatural courage in dangerous situations. This wasn't just for special ministers. It was for every true follower of Christ who was willing to step beyond their comfort zone and trust God completely. What is God asking you to surrender or change right now? Are you willing to obey Him even if it costs you something important? Your response in the comments could encourage someone else to take that step of faith. Suddenly, Jesus' expression became even more urgent, and I felt a shift in the atmosphere around us. The weight of eternity seemed to press down on this moment. Isabella, I must send you back now. The doctors are about to give up on reviving your body, but I have work for you to do. You must carry this message to as many people as possible, especially to my church, which has become comfortable and complacent. I felt panic rise within me. Lord, I don't want to go back. It's so peaceful here, so perfect. And who am I to carry such an important message? I was just a marketing executive with spiritual doubts 6 months ago. Jesus smiled, and once again, His love washed over me like a healing wave. My child, I don't call the qualified, I qualify the called. Your previous doubts and questions have prepared you to speak to others who are struggling with the same issues. Your ordinary background will make this message more believable to ordinary people who need to hear it. He gestured toward the earth below, and I could see my family gathered around my hospital bed. Carlos was holding my hand, whispering prayers through his tears. Sophia and Miguel stood close by, their young faces filled with confusion and fear. My heart broke seeing their pain. "Your family needs you," Jesus said gently. "But more importantly, the world needs the message I've given you. Time is running out, Isabella. Each day that passes without preparation makes survival less likely for those who are still spiritually asleep." I felt myself beginning to descend, but Jesus' voice followed me. "Remember everything you've seen and heard. Do not soften the message to make it more acceptable. People's eternal destinies hang in the balance. And remember this: I am coming much sooner than most people think. The signs are already manifesting for those who have eyes to see. Do you see the signs of Christ's return manifesting in our world today? What evidence of spiritual awakening or spiritual darkness are you witnessing? Share your observations in the comments." The return to my physical body was incredibly jarring and painful. One moment I was surrounded by perfect love and peace. The next I was crashing back into a broken, pain-filled shell. The first sensation was the ventilator forcing air into my lungs, followed by waves of agony from multiple fractures and internal injuries. But even more difficult than the physical pain was the spiritual adjustment. Having experienced the reality of Christ's presence so intensely, being back in the limited, fallen world felt like being forced into a cage that was far too small. Everything seemed gray and lifeless compared to the vibrant reality of the spiritual realm. The doctors called my recovery miraculous. I had been clinically dead for 17 minutes, with no brain activity detected for the final 8 minutes. They had prepared my family for the worst, telling them that even if I survived, I would likely have severe brain damage. When I not only woke up but began speaking coherently about things I had observed while unconscious, they had no medical explanation. But the real challenge wasn't convincing the medical staff that something supernatural had occurred. It was convincing people to take the message seriously. When I first started sharing what Jesus had shown me, many people were polite, but dismissive. Even some in my own church suggested that my experience was just a hallucination caused by lack of oxygen to my brain. Have you ever had a spiritual experience that others didn't believe or understand? How did you handle their skepticism? Share your story in the comments. It might encourage someone else who's struggling with the same challenge. The resistance I encountered only confirmed what Jesus had shown me about the spiritual condition of many who call themselves believers. They were more comfortable with their familiar, controllable version of Christianity than with the radical, life-changing reality of Christ's imminent return and current activity in the world. But I also began to find others who were having similar experiences. All over the world, people were reporting dreams, visions, and encounters with Jesus that carried the same urgent message about preparation and spiritual awakening. We were like scattered pieces of a puzzle, each carrying part of the complete picture that God was revealing to his people. As I've shared this testimony over the past 6 months, I've seen 3 distinct responses. First, there are those who reject the message entirely, preferring to maintain their comfortable spiritual status quo. Second, there are those who are curious and interested, but not yet convinced enough to make significant changes in their lives. And third, there are those who hear this message and immediately recognize it as confirmation of what God has already been speaking to their hearts. Which of these 3 categories best describes your response to this message? Are you rejecting it, considering it, or ready to act on it? Your honesty in the comments could help others identify where they stand spiritually. It's this third group that gives me the most hope. I've watched as people who were living mediocre Christian lives suddenly catch fire with passion for God. I've seen individuals begin to seek Jesus with desperate intensity, knowing that their eternal destiny depends on genuine relationship with Him rather than religious activity. But I've also watched as the darkness Jesus showed me continues to manifest in our world. The deception is becoming stronger, the confusion more widespread, and the pressure to compromise increasing daily. I can see people making the small compromises that will eventually lead to their spiritual downfall, just as Jesus warned me. The urgency I feel is almost overwhelming sometimes. Every day that passes is another day closer to the point where preparation will no longer be possible. Every person who hears this message and doesn't respond is someone who may not have another opportunity to get their spiritual house in order. Are you feeling this same sense of urgency in your spirit? Do you sense that time is running out for spiritual preparation? Let me know in the comments if you're experiencing this internal alarm that many believers are feeling right now. Now, 6 months after my encounter with Jesus, I want to leave you with his final words to me as I was returning to my body. These words have echoed in my spirit every single day since then. Tell them that I am returning as a king, not as a humble servant this time. Tell them that I am coming for a bride who has made herself ready, not for a church that is comfortable with compromise. Tell them that the wheat and the tares are about to be separated, and the harvest is ready. Most importantly, tell them that they must choose now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when they see signs in the sky. The choice they make today determines whether they will survive the darkness or be consumed by it. I am offering them one final opportunity to surrender completely to me and be transformed into the people I created them to be. Friends, I am pleading with you as someone who has seen what's coming and what's at stake. This is not a message meant to frighten you into submission. It's a message meant to awaken you to the incredible opportunity that still exists to be part of God's plan for these last days. If you're sitting in church every Sunday, but haven't truly surrendered your life to Christ, today is your day to make that real commitment. If you've been compromising your values to fit in with the world around you, today is your day to choose courage over comfort. If you've been content with knowing about Jesus rather than actually knowing Him, today is your day to begin that intimate relationship that will carry you through any darkness. What is your decision right now? Will you continue as you have been, or will you surrender completely to Christ and begin serious preparation for what's coming? Your response in the comments could be the beginning of your spiritual transformation. Don't let this moment pass without acting. The darkness is coming, but it doesn't have to overcome you. Christ's light is stronger than any darkness, and His power is sufficient for any challenge. But you must choose to walk in that light and power while there's still time to prepare. I pray that this testimony reaches everyone who needs to hear it before it's too late. And I pray that you will have the courage to share it with others who need this warning and this hope. The King is coming. Will you be ready? Before you go, please share this message with everyone you know who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, what is God speaking to your heart right now? What step is He asking you to take today? Your obedience could be the difference between surviving and thriving in what's ahead, or being unprepared when the darkness comes. Remember, time is running out, but it's not too late. Not yet. But tomorrow might be. Choose today. Choose Jesus. Choose to be part of His remnant that will shine as lights in the darkness and help others find their way to safety in Him. The choice is yours. What will it be?